Welcome back to the Advanced Selling Podcast, the longest running sales training podcast history. You got the same two guys every week. I'm Bill Caskey.
I'm Bryan Neal.
We are delighted that you're with us. We're delighted to be here. We're just full of delight and joy. And we do appreciate your listening. And if you ever want to connect with us on LinkedIn, that's probably the best way to do it. Go to the LinkedIn group, advancedsellingpodcast.com/LinkedIn. Join it. There's a few thousand people there, or maybe 10,000 people. And we do answer from time to time. In fact, I got a direct message from one of our members, Matt Cox, who wants us to do something on personal branding. So we'll figure out how to nestle that into some of the things we're going to talk about here.
Yeah, definitely go and join the group. I think we're up to 13, 14, we're closing on 14,000 people there.
I think so.
And something like that. But it's good. It's a good group. The other thing we haven't talked about is we have an email list. And so you can just email listener at advancedsellingpodcast.com. Then we can get on our email list, and you can go to the website and get on the email list. And we'd love to chat with you direct. Call us. Yep. Yeah. And what about Insider this month?
Insider in July. It happens on July 11th. We're not doing it on the 4th, of course. We're doing it on the 11th, and it's called High Value Conversion Systems. And the idea here is that at some point, we talk about lead generation and prospecting and biz dev a lot. We don't talk about closing so much. And I think there's some key aspects there that we miss. And so we're going to spend that entire afternoon on high value conversion or closing systems. So are we closing a high enough percentage? Because if you're closing 12% of the deals you propose, you're spending a lot of time and wasting a lot of time. So we want to get that number up to 30 to 50%. And that's what we're going to do on the 11th. So go to advancedsellingpodcast.com/insider. You can sign up there.
And it's on 7-Eleven.
It is on 7-Eleven.
Remember 7-Eleven store? They still have 7-Elevens? I think they do.
No, you mean the stores?
Yeah, don't they? 7-Elevens? I feel like they're regional.
We had IGA. We had the
IGA.
Oh, I don't know. Hey, are you in Indianapolis?
I am.
Okay. I don't mean
you mean right now?
I know you are, but are you an Indianapolis guy generally?
100%. Yes, I've lived here since 1996.
What was the name? Oh, 96?
96. But my dad lived here before that too, so I spent summers here.
There was a restaurant up where Mosier is now in the same building.
Yeah.
What was that?
It was at something oyster, like the Blue Oyster or the da-da-da. Yes. Wasn't it the Oyster Pearl? Yes. It was a restaurant.
I think it was something
for
silver. A long time. And then it changed to what you're talking about. And then
it could have been. It was silver. Remember that? It was a big silver building. And they took all the silver down. I don't know.
I thought it was the wharf. I thought it was something Fisherman's Wharf or Oyster Wharf.
That sounds right. Fisherman's Wharf sounds good.
Yeah. But I was trying to think of it. And usually I'm pretty good at those things. Like I know we're the first target in Indianapolis. So it's really relevant information.
When it used to be an airway.
Yeah, we've been through.
All the listeners are like, what are they talking about? Like, this is like our hometown lore.
Okay, we'll move on.
We'll move on. So topic today. Go ahead, tee us up, Bill. Or you want me to tee us up? I'll start. Okay.
You had a situation.
Because we have a little combined thing. So we're talking about kind of collectively the concept of, do we make judgments on other people? Do we make judgments about customers before we go in to even talk to them based on what we see or know about them? That could be good or bad judgments. And by good or bad, I could be like, oh, they're an awesome company. They print money. Like, they should be able to afford this. And then you find out that they're actually losing money. Or a bad judgment. Oh, they're too small. They can never do that, or whatever. Or do you just judge like people in a sales process? You're like, wow, that's the CEO. The CFO's real boring and quiet. I can't, they're getting a perspective on selling. I was in a meeting, at a speaking gig, and listening to someone, and it was a financial thing. And it's just, it's financial, and it's just like really a lot of big words, and it's kind of slow. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And then what I realized is the guy talking is actually has a net worth of $2.2 billion and is very, very, very smart. I just couldn't get past the kind of the slowness of the thing. And I'm like, shame on me. I'm like, I probably should have like looked past that and listened, because the guy's like wicked smart in terms of financing and finance stuff. But it just got me thinking about that. Like, I kind of shamed on me when I found out who the guy was after the fact, which is really crappy. It's like, why would I do that? Why should I try to learn from everybody?
We all judge the package that things are in. Like we all judge the album cover before we really listen to the album. And there was a lot of albums. You probably don't know what these are, vinyl, like 6.
Oh yeah, I've got one.
That were sold based on the album cover. Because when you go into a record store, you couldn't play it. You just have to look. Oh, this is the Beatles, White Album. This looks pretty cool.
It's pretty interesting.
And then you'd buy it. Yeah. And so judging a book by its cover, perfectly normal thing to do. However, I do think also this reiterates the fact that if you're not worth $2 billion and you don't have a brand that's kind of precedes you, you do have to get your act together on stage if you're going to be speaking or doing panel discussions. You got to be interesting. You got to be compelling. You've got to be concise. You've got to have clear, thought through messages, and you've got to be a good communicator. All those things matter today because people will tune you out, as you did the $2 billion man.
I did. I should have tuned in a little sooner. Might have got some good tips on investing. So I want to talk. So you remember Dave C., very private man, but you remember Dave C. Yeah. And if I remember correctly, he had a folder from training and coaching he had been through with you. And on the outside of that folder, he had a little sentence written down kind of sideways in the corner. It said, "Know nothing, know nothing." And I'm pretty sure he learned that from you in the 90s. And it, to me, is the go back when I kind of lose myself in this judgment thing. Like I'm making these judgments of a company or a person before I go in. This concept of know nothing going in is really good. It goes against, though, the world we're in of AI. I'm all about AI prep and research and all this stuff. The problem is when we start to judge the research, we get in trouble. We make bad assumptions. And so I think it's interesting to put those two things together. Yeah. Like, how do I go in and have knowledge? And I think some buyers would take, I don't know, offense is the right word, but when I'm asking them questions and you're sitting there going, shouldn't you have done your research? I don't know.
And if you know too much, then it's like, well, you think you know, you don't really know.
Exactly. There's a balance to this, isn't there?
Yeah.
So what are we to do if we're listening to this? What are we to do?
Well, I had a similar kind of thing, and then we'll come back. But I think they're kind of the two sides of the same coin. I had a client who just brand new group. Everybody was new to me and me to them. And he made the comment, well, Bill, you know that everything is about relationships and selling. Everything is about relationships. And whenever someone posits a universal dictate like that, I always feel like everything all the time, everywhere is a relationship. No, I don't think so. And I think today, and this is part of this AI thing, is today the question, your customer is probably not sitting around scoping out, how do we get a better relationship with this vendor?
Right.
They're probably not thinking that. And so you might want a good relationship. They just want your value. They just want to know what you know, and can you solve this problem or not? And if you can, how much is it? And if you can't, we'll move on. And this whole idea of everybody wants a relationship is just bogus. It's just not true.
It isn't.
Now, I think relationships emanate from you solving their problems. Like you have a better relationship with your clients today than you did on the first day. That's because you're solving problems, you're listening, you're bringing value. Now everybody is all into relationships, but before you have a like an engagement, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a relationship guy, but I feel like it's overblown sometimes.
Well, I always want to ask people what they mean by that, because what you mean by relationship to me determines how much I would agree or disagree with your client's statement there. So some people, when I say, what do you mean by relationship? Like, describe that to me. Well, I mean, I know Bill. I mean, I've known him forever. I was at his daughter's wedding. I mean, we go fishing together and, we're friends. I'm like, okay. Versus, Bill calls me for business advice outside of sales work. He asked me to do things above and beyond. He introduces me to his peers who also run companies who need help and never ask anything for it. Those to me are two different versions of relationship. The second one, I'm all for. I think that's a business relationship that's very valuable. That's it's give and take. It's valuable outside. I would call my clients with good relationships for business advice outside of what I do. I would call my client to say, hey, I'm trying to scale this thing. Can you talk to me about this? Or I'm going to raise capital or whatever.
Absolutely.
But the whole, we go fishing, we go to ball games together and all that jazz, that is old school weak sauce to me. To your point, no vendor sitting around like, I need some more friends. Where could I get some friends? I know I'll get some friends from my toiletry supplier. Exactly. I need someone to go to the game with because I've got nothing else to do. I've got no family, I just don't think that's
painting a very sad picture here.
Well, but it's like people, I'm validating what you're saying, like maybe too strongly, but I'm like, people don't need that. Buyers don't need more friends. And if you go to dinner with a client, that's fine, but that's not the crux of it all. That's not why they do business with you. They do business with you first, learn to trust you, you help them, then you go to dinner with them.
Yeah. I had dinner the other night with a new client over in Cincinnati, and there was just three of us, and we had it was a great meal before we did a full day program the next day, or I did. And it's so nice just to sit and talk. And these guys are just really good human beings. And we just talked about life and purpose and mission. And we talked about real stuff rather than, what's your favorite sports team. And it's that you can go to dinner and go to network and play golf. But if you're having those kind of conversations, you win on all sides, because now you're learning more about them. They're learning about you. They ask me a lot of questions about my life and about my, the ups and downs. And man, we got through with that dinner. It felt like, this was magical.
Yeah. And it was, you didn't just talk sales strategy stuff it's really good. And then when you go to tie in the first part of what we brought up about the judgment thing, I think this occurs here too. So one thing that I think salespeople do that is they don't realize they're doing it, and it's very natural. You gravitate to people who you seem to vibe with or have energy with. Yeah. And so you may be an outgoing, want to engage type person. And then there's a CFO in the buying process who's really quiet. And you think, I never want to hang with them. They're boring, And then because you judge them early, you never give that a chance to spark. And then you realize, even though the CFO appears boring on the surface, they're really fun, or that you've got this big thing in common. They love going to concerts or outside of work, they're whatever. And, or that they can provide value to you to help you get a CFO's perspective of what you sell that you never thought of before. But we judge it. So we're like,
Yeah. And it's like life is a never-ending journey to the unknown. Ooh, God, is this good? No. And so we don't know.
Burning in there, Bill. Like really deep, right?
We think we know what's going to happen to us today. We have no idea. We don't know what's going to happen today. You may have an accident and meet the guy that was boring you to death. And he wants to do business with you. We just don't know. And so that to me is the same with when I enter into a prospect kind of thing. I'm working with a client, and I'm actually taking some of their calls, some of their first calls, and they're compensating me as a percent of, and it's kind of a one call close. It's a fairly small $5,000 thing, and but I'm looking forward to it because it's like, well, this is cool. I've never sold this thing before. This thing should be fairly easy to sell, but I don't know. And I have a couple of calls this week. I'm like pumped for them, and not more so than my personal calls, but it's different. And so maybe I'll learn something that I can apply toward my business in these calls. We just don't know what life holds.
It's so true. And you can't be open to that if you're sitting in judgment of those things and environments and people around you. You can't be, you block it out. Yeah. Because the guy on the stage for me was a little boring and using some big words I didn't understand. I blocked it out, and I should have opened it up because I could have learned something. And I don't even know what I missed because I wasn't listening. I was listening, but not listening.
You're all in the judges.
Seriously, it's bad, really bad.
So what's the question that you ask first, though? You ask a question that I took you down the path of the relationship thing, but
what is one to do? What is one to do? You're listening to this, you're driving around to your next sales call, you're thinking, I can kind of relate to what these guys are saying. I might have some judgments, or I do believe in a relationship, or I do love to be friends with my customers or whatever. How do I open myself up to think in a different way? I used the little phrase that was on Dave C's binder, know nothing. I'm not saying not to prep here, but once I have all my prep, I still don't know if that's accurate.
Yeah.
Here's an example. We just had a sales call last week. All the prep said this company was an ESOP, and we've got work with several ESOPs. ESOP stands for Employee Stock Ownership Program. It's where the employees own the company. So we're in the sales call. I'm like, well, I saw that you guys are an ESOP. He goes, no, we're not an ESOP anymore. I'm like, oh, when did that change? Like, there's two guys talking. They go, was it 2020 or 2021? I think it was 2020, 5 years ago. But everything that I found on my ChatGPT and LinkedIn and said they were an ESOP.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to validate this stuff.
Yeah,
some of it's not right.
And, I think it's okay to say to a first meeting client, look, in anticipation for this, I checked out your website. I looked at some things. I also asked my AI assistant to help me understand the business. So I'm going to ask you some questions, but sometimes it hallucinates. It's kind of like me in my 20s. I hallucinate a lot. No,
it will help.
But you can say that because people know. It's not like they want to know that you did a little, spent a little elbow grease on it. So, but that way it prevents you from stepping in it by saying you're an ESOP, right? Oh, that's what ChatGPT said.
Exactly. Oh, you're not? When did that change?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. I'm telling you, you are. It's right there.
Yeah, it says. So I think research is good, but then still this air of I need to validate these things or I need to be open is a tactical thing to take away here first.
And I love the know nothing. I don't know. I mean, I know that we used to preach, have no expectation, and that's kind of the know nothing. Have no expectation that they have no money. Have no expectation that they have a lot of money and they're willing to throw it your way. Yes. Have no expectation about that. All I'm focused on is, do they have a problem that they believe is worth solving? Yes. Or do they have a destination they believe is worth getting to? And everything else is just because if they have money, but that you can't find out what their problems are, what their destination is, they're not going to spend it with you. So it doesn't matter whether they have money or not.
Right.
So the thing that makes the juice that makes it all work to me is the attention to where can I help this person? Where are they trying to avoid? Where are they trying to get?
Yeah. And when I think that, and I make the decisions on their behalf going in, they probably don't have any money because they're this or that. There's an air about me that I think is bad that comes off that can be, I'm better than you, above you. You know what I mean? Without even intending that part of it. Yeah.
We think we hide that.
Yeah. I don't think we do. No, that comes out. I think that comes out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And then I don't care either way. They're like, well, my father-in-law is funding us, so he gave us $50 million. So
exactly.
Like, oh, okay. It's like, okay. Or we've got, we barely made payroll 2 months ago and we're struggling, but we need sales. I go, okay. Try to stay in that. I call that emotionally neutral. I have a stick shift. Do you have a stick shift car, Bill?
I do not.
I have a Bronco. No, I do. I bought a Bronco and it's a stick shift.
Oh, wow.
It's really fun. Really fun.
I love stick shifts.
It's great. It's really great. It brings you back. It gets a little old, to be honest. I've been driving it now it'll be 3 years in November. Mm-hmm. I used to get kind of tired of shifting and stuff like that. But I use that as an example.
You can't not shift. So
you can try.
You can try to get tired.
It's kind of weak.
I'm bored with that. I'm just going to put it in first.
The new stick shifts, really, they're cheaters because when you kill it, which you can kill it, all you have to do is put the clutch back in and it starts automatically.
Oh, really?
It's not the old days when everyone's honking at you and you're sweating. You're like, oh my God, I can't get back in gear. I can't. Yeah, I'm still in third until I can't jump it, pop the clutch. Not those fun days. No, I just press the clutch and it starts again. But what I use that as an analogy for.
That's not a stick shift.
Millennials, it's really not. It's a fake.
There's 4 on the floor with a little help.
It's actually 6. It's 6.
Is it 6?
Yeah. And a crawl speed, which is kind of cool. I tell people to downshift to emotionally neutral. Now people don't drive stick shifts. They don't know what that means. But when you come up, you're getting ready to stop. You just clutch in, you go to neutral just to be chill. That I think about that with my energy. I go to emotionally neutral. They have money. They don't. Okay. They want to go somewhere. They don't. Okay. It's like, I'm emotionally neutral. Yeah. I think that's a good takeaway.
I think it's a great takeaway. And there's that idea that on the first call, like when somebody books a call with me or one of my clients, I always say, well, you're just there to make an acquaintance. That's really, you're not there to try to get them to buy or do or see or want. You're just there to make an acquaintance. And only through, I was at a family reunion this weekend and one of my wife's cousins is a counselor, and he was telling me some of the tactics, some of the techniques that they use in counseling and bringing up things that the patient needs to bring up to get better. And it was really, he's really good at it. And he just does it through just being with them, just meeting them there, and no judgment, no attachment, no, oh God, this guy's a mess. None of that. He says, I just want to know what's really happening in there. The only way I know it is to ask questions and be there with that person as I'm asking that question, not trying to force them in a direction. And I think amateur salespeople tend to try to force 100%. People, and they try to, they try to build a structure that's going to get them to a certain place, and people are onto that. People know
they are. Pete, I think that group, and I know there are a couple industries that are really heavy with this. Their judgment is every person I talk to is prey. Every person I talk to, I judge as something to capture.
That's wild.
Yeah. And that it just comes loud and clear when they think it's masked. Yeah. And that's a thing.
Awesome. Well, we want to hear from you on this episode. If you find that you're helped by this, or you find that sometimes you judge things, just put it down. Just come clean with it. You don't have to talk about any particular clients or names, but I think it helps to clear the air a little bit. Say, you know what, because I do. Boy, I think it's a human nature thing for us to look at the package and say, do I want this package or not?
Yeah.
And it's that way in relationships. It's that way in business. It's that way with cars.
Yes.
Stick
all
shifts.
The things.
Yeah.
Stick shifts. Yeah. Right.
All right.
Go. Fake stick shifts.
Let us know. Let us know what you think. Connect with us on LinkedIn at advancedsellingpodcast.com/LinkedIn, and check out Insider for July, advancedsellingpodcast.com/Insider.
7-Eleven.
See you. Bye.
Bye.